Good evening. My name is Art Sprue. I'm Chair of the Planning Board. This is the Town of Chatham Planning Board Hybrid Meeting, April 14th, 2025. It's 4 p.m. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly thereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. I don't see any notification. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of the Chapter 2 of Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Planning Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 667-432-257#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. I'd like to begin the meeting with a roll call vote. Warren Chain.
Warren Chain, present.
Bob Werschafter.
Bob Werschafter, present.
Charlene Greenhall.
Charlene Greenhalgh, present.
Frank Shear.
Frank Shearer, present.
Bob Dubus.
Bob Dubus, present.
And Catherine Halpern.
Yes, Catherine Halpern, present.
And Art Sprue, I'm present. All right, we'll begin tonight with a approval not required for 48 Sylvan Way. Do I have an applicant who would like to present?
Need to withdraw without prejudice, as there was very big confusions on the plan here, because it shows a cul-de-sac on a plan that apparently doesn't exist.
Correct.
So my understanding is that we're going to have to come back in front of you with a definitive plan.
Correct.
And obviously, we're probably going to be asking for waivers on that. And I would like to see some guidance from the planning board or the town planner on that, see what kind of waivers that we're going to need. I know that we had supplied as much information as we could on this, and I know I was asking to see if there was any kind of a covenant. We couldn't find anything on it, or a release of covenant. It just seems kind of odd how things happen. But just want to go on record that we tried to do our best with this.
No, they understand.
Okay. With that said, is there any direction that you want to give me right now other than out the door?
I think your suggestion of going before the community development staff and getting some information about what you would need based on past experience of what we've dealt with some items like this before, where it's just a small subdivision with a lot split like this with a cul-de-sac. So we're familiar with this, and so is the staff, and they can probably give you some history associated on how we deal with it.
Okay. In that case?
Charlene, did you have something?
No, I was just going to move that we accept the withdrawal without prejudice.
No.
Excuse me.
Second.
Second. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Warren Chain.
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werschafter.
Bob Werschafter, approve.
Charlene.
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
Frank Shear.
Frank Shearer, approve.
Bob Dubus.
Bob Dubus, approve.
Catherine Halpern.
Catherine Halpern, approve.
And Art Sprue, I approve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so site plan approval is the first one, 200 Meeting House Road. Is that going to be continued?
So that one, they have requested to be continued to the next meeting, possibly. The planning board members did go out for a site visit last week to get some additional information with regard to that one, so we can move forward to the next item, right?
I move that we continue that particular item to April 28th,
28. Right.
no earlier than, do we know what time our meeting starts, 5 o'clock?
I don't have my calendar with me.
No earlier than 5 PM.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werthschafter,
Bob Werthschafter, approve.
Charlene Greenhall,
Charlene Greenhouse, approve.
Frank Shear,
Frank Scherer, approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
and Catherine Halpern,
Catherine Halpern, approve.
and Art Spur, I approve. Okay, so next one is 878, 880 Main Street, Diggin. This is a continuation from last meeting.
That is correct. This is the continuation from the last meeting, and we have the applicant here before us tonight. We also have the condo unit owner.
Okay,
Is this from the last meeting or 2 meetings ago? Because I wasn't here. So it had to be 2 meetings ago. or
it
maybe-
could have been, yes,
Okay.
you're right.
Okay. I am going to abstain from the vote only because I was not here to participate in the first part of it. But I would like the opportunity to ask any questions if
Sure.
I feel it's necessary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Diggin.
And again, give us some background about your project and some of the questions that we brought up last time and which you are, how you're going to be addressing those tonight.
Sure. So I guess one of our biggest issues was the parking at this place because it is a condo association. So there are 3 owners, and you guys had mentioned, them coming together and seeing if they would waive, the rules, I guess, with the parking. And unfortunately, we could not come to an agreement on that. Most of the people were on board, one wasn't. So I went a different route to try to fix this problem because I really want this. So I was able to get in touch with the people that are at Compass, the general manager and the owner, and they have allowed me to take some of their spaces if necessary for my business, which is really nice of them. And also, there is public parking that's not too far, so if it really came down to it, I could always have my employees there, and I'd be happy to carpool them or drop them off or whatever we had to do. So basically, the parking thing was really the big issue for me. So I think that I have that figured out for the most part.
Okay, board members, any questions on this? I'm going to start down at the other end, Bob Dubus.
Well, I'm glad to see that you got your two or three spaces, and this letter is exactly what we need. So other than that, I don't remember any other problem other than the parking issue.
Right.
So unless you have anything else to tell us, I think that we might be able to take a vote on it, but unless Art would like to refresh us quickly on what we did.
Okay, so the big question that happened here is the space that you're taking over had so many parking spaces.
2, I believe.
Right, and so there was an increase with this. And I think from what I understand, you're proposing that your employees would be parking adjacent to this or be
Correct.
bussed over. That makes an awful lot of sense and leave the remaining 3 spaces, which are allocated to your use anyway for your customers. That is a good resolution. I don't recall any other points.
I hate to interrupt you, but
Yep.
she only has 2 places, right?
4. I have 4 spaces
you
allotted
do?
to me, and then I needed 2 or 3 more.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it is just me right now, so it's gonna take a little time to fill those up, but hopefully not.
I don't think you're gonna have much trouble once you get settled away.
I hope
That's
so.
That's gonna be a busy place.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay, Frank, you have any questions or comments?
No, no questions.
Charlene?
Smart to go to the neighbor and see if they would accommodate you. I was delighted to see that they did, so,
They were very nice.
yeah, good. If I could vote, I would.
Yeah, okay.
In the affirmative.
Bob Werschafter?
No questions.
Warren Chain?
The only thing, I just have a question for clarity, and that is, do we need somehow to memorialize that this parking is going to be available, so we don't need a variance or an exception or anything in the
I
approval?
think the applicant has submitted a letter associated with this.
Okay,
to
and
us.
that's part of the record?
yeah.
Okay, no questions.
The only thing I would say to you is on the plan, maybe we need to have, as Art and I've talked about, maybe having something changed on the writing on the plan.
Yeah, the plan is indicated not quite what the parking
top right-hand
criteria
corner.
is. So my viewpoint is they just need to update and correct that portion of the plan.
If I might suggest, instead of changing the plan yet again, memorialize it in the decision letter that will get recorded
Yeah.
and include the letter
Okay,
attached to it. I think that, to me, that's a lot cleaner.
okay,
Thank you.
yeah. Catherine, do you have any comments or questions?
I do have a comment. First of all, I want to say congratulations on getting the other parking, and that is also very good of the people at Compass to do that. I agree with all the previous comments that we need to, sort of formalize that agreement in our decision letter and in the information in your file. So all of that's good. The only thing I am looking at is we have, maybe it was from the last meeting, the email from David Veach as president of the condo association, I believe, saying, it's basically stating that as president and as an individual citizen, he agrees with your plan, but there is one owner in the condo association who does not agree. Can we get a follow-up that says that the arrangement that you've made with Compass satisfies all of the other condo owners and any of their concerns about parking? I do think we need to also formalize it that
I
way.
actually spoke with him about it, sorry. And he was, when I told him, he was happy about that, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm not,
okay.
I'm not sure we want to get involved with the condo association and the condo members. It might
But we need to know
complicate
that,
things.
well, but we need to know that the parking arrangements are acceptable to the condo association as a whole, because that was the issue. So if we could just, it's great that you spoke to them, but I'm just wondering, can we just get that statement in writing that, that the parking arrangements are satisfactory now? Because we have something in writing that says they're not. So
Charlene?
that's what I'm asking.
I'm not sure if it's so much that they're not, it's just that one of the condo owners didn't cooperate with the waiver. We can't get
Yeah.
involved in the condo association. and
Okay.
If they like things or not. I think simply by having the additional parking spaces available to them,
Yeah.
which I understand is where the employees are going to park, which is perfect, that it's been satisfied.
Yeah.
And I don't think the board really can go any further with the condo
Okay.
association folks. That's beyond the purview of the board, in my opinion.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
so now the way I could understand it then is that there is no waiver. We're not
Correct.
creating a waiver.
We're not
So there's
granting.
no impact,
Yeah.
there's no impact on the association anyway, because you found another solution. So that's all right. So great. So that's fine. I'll go with
Okay,
that.
Bob Werschafter.
Just a question for procedure. I mean, it's great that somebody else is letting them use two spaces, but how do we know those two spaces aren't already allocated and required for the Compass? I mean, in general, we would just be playing,
Yeah, good point.
Well, let me interrupt a minute.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone by there?
no, I'm just asking in general.
Always
There is
empty.
plenty of empty spaces there.
Okay.
This is
That's
a
why I'm asking
way-
the question.
This is a way to make things better all around, and this is not the first time we've ever done this. We did this down the Cranberry Inn at a few times. We've done it all over the place a few times. As long as she has this letter from the owners, I think we're all set. They don't use all the spaces there. Okay, because if they did, they wouldn't give you permission to use them. So I don't want to dwell on this subject. I don't want to give her any more aggravation than she's already done. She's done her homework, and let's just get on with it. Please.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure how to word this motion. A motion to approve the amended change of use for this application? Charlene, why don't you help me out here?
Do you
with
want,
this one?
okay.
Yes,
I will, so actually, I can make the motion.
yes. Right.
I move that we approve the amended site plan for the property located at 878, 880 Main Street for the proposed hair salon as it meets the necessary requirements and criteria for approval pursuant to the zoning bylaw, protective zoning bylaw, with the conditions as stated in the staff report. These are standard conditions. Additionally, that it is understood and shall become part of the decision that the property located to the east, which is now Compass Real Estate, has allowed that three spaces be allowed to be used for this use.
Do I have
I
a
second.
Oh. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werschafter,
Board should have to approve.
Charlene Greenhall.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Frank Scher,
Frank Scher, approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus approves.
Catherine Halpern,
I approve.
and Art Spur, I approve.
Thank you so much. I better see all of you there.
Thank you.
So we will reach out once we have everything signed and just get you a copy of it so that it can be taken care of, okay? Thank you.
Okay, next is 18 George Ryder Road, South, Unit A. I have someone from the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, you had me fooled for a while when I first opened this, pardon? I said, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
What?
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. I couldn't find a place on George Ratter Road to save my life,
Yeah.
but I did figure it out.
It's there. I figured it out too. Right. All right. If you could introduce yourself and introduce your project here.
Absolutely. Hello, Board. My name is Dr. Christina Lee. I am the owner of Uplift Physical Therapy and Wellness, and my application is to change the use of Unit A, 18 George Ryder Road South, from retail to be used for my solo provider physical therapy clinic.
That's it, huh?
Well, that's pretty much it. I haven't proposed any changes to the structure of the building, to the parking, to the layout. So everything about the use of the building will be the same, except there will be fewer people in and out because it'll just be me one-on-one with a patient for 1 hour at a time. And there are no other changes being requested.
Okay, and if I understand, Christine, that the parking use is actually less than what was previously approved.
This is
that right?
correct. The previous use was retail, so this is fewer spots required. This is within the historic business district, so if you do a sign, we would have to have a sign application go to them. So it's a lesser use, and we anticipate that she'll only need 2 of the spaces, so the other spaces will just be still there.
I took a look at the previous site plan. It's a well-developed site. It's a great design that's associated with it, dealing with all of the stormwater issues and everything. So there was really no issues here that I saw. But board members, Warren, do you have any comments or questions?
No comments at all.
Bob Werschafter?
No comments.
Charlene?
Just curiosity, which retail use is going away?
So the clothing consignment store that was in Unit B left. My unit was the At Home Again annex. They moved into the clothing consignment, and I took their space.
perfect. I have no other,
Okay.
anything.
Frank Scher?
No questions.
Bob Dubus?
I got a lot of questions.
No questions. Catherine, any questions, comments?
No, no questions, but I just want to compliment you on setting up this business. I think it's something that could be very helpful to a lot of people in Chatham.
Thank you very much.
And Artsper, I have no comments or questions. So a vote to approve the site plan approval.
I just have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Do we need to impose the conditions as shown on the, as highlighted here? Do we really need to impose those conditions? Because it's a change of use and the site's not changing at all.
You can suggest not to propose them.
I would suggest we don't include the conditions because
Okay.
there's nothing changing. Except the use.
The only thing I would say would be maybe the signage one in the future, but we now have that on record, so I don't feel strongly about it.
Oh, that one
That's-
I'll include.
Yeah.
Right, well, so those are your, those are mostly your standard ones. I did take out the lighting one in the last one, but, right, you don't need to, these are your standard conditions that I was told to leave in at the beginning, but
Okay.
you are the board, and I will follow your direction.
Okay.
Based on that, I would move that we approve the amended site plan to allow for the proposed physical therapy office use, which meets the necessary requirements and criteria for approval to the protective zoning bylaw, with the condition that no signage is proposed as part of the application, but the property does fall within the entire historic business district. Commission local designation, review area, so any proposed signage or alteration to the exterior of the structure requires review and approval from the HBDC.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Warren Chain?
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Wershafter?
Bob Wirtschafter, approve.
Charlene Greenhall?
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
Frank Scher?
Frank Scher, approve.
Bob Dubus?
Bob Dubus approves.
Catherine Halpern?
Catherine Halpern approves.
And Artsper, I approve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I will reach out once we get the paperwork signed, and we'll let you know. Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving right along here tonight. 16 Quonset Road, and this is to be continued, is that right?
This is another request to continue per the applicant. They will be coming in on Wednesday to meet with community development staff to go over their latest proposal. That is the jam and jelly one.
Okay, do we know when they want to continue it to? Do we do it to the next meeting just to err on the side
I
of
think we
caution?
should just do it to the next meeting to err on the side of caution.
I would move
Please.
that we allow for the continuance of the site plan approval amended change of use for 16 Sequoia Road to April 28th, no earlier than 5 PM.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Warren?
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob
Bob
Wershafter?
Wirtschafter, approve.
Charlene Greenhall?
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
Frank Scher?
Frank Scher, approve.
Bob Dubus?
Bob Dubus approve.
Catherine Halpern?
Catherine Halpern approve.
And Artsper, I approve. All right, next is release from covenant Evergreen Lane drainage. Do I have someone from the applicant to walk us through? Just to refresh the board's memory, this was discussed at the September 23rd, 2024 meeting. So, if you have notes from that time, you can refer to them.
Good afternoon, David Clark,
And-
Clark
And
Engineering.
it'd be helpful to just refresh the board's memory around a lot of things that happened.
In the audience are the owners, Susan Shepard and Barry Payne. So when we were here in September, we were discussing with the board how to move this panhandle lot to the point where they could sell it and get a building permit, the buyer could get a building permit. So
gotta speak up.
I will. So the board asked that they needed, well, stated they needed a plan showing what was out there for kind of an as-built plan, because work was done out there. So we prepared an as-built plan of the intersection with Route 28. Specifically, the entrance is 18 and a half feet wide, so there's room for two cars to be at that entrance, one coming in, one going out. The rest of the roadway from the split, the driveway split that goes to another private property that fronts actually on Route 28, and then the Evergreen Lane that continues on the right side of the split going up the hill. There is some drainage out there. There is a gravel area. It's covered with leaves and pine needles right now, but it appears to be sufficient to handle the runoff that's coming off of Evergreen Lane. One of the issues we found in the approved drawing from when the panhandle was created, that it showed roundings out at Route 28 that were in excess of the roadway's frontage, in that the rounding heading on the east side, heading into town, extended beyond the property line. And it was made clear from the property owner of the property that actually has the frontage on Route 28 that they didn't want the road to extend beyond the extension of their property line on Route 28. So we show the existing roundings. I had no issues with maneuvering onto or off of Route 28. We feel that what is out there for a constructed roadway is sufficient for the one additional house that will be out, that will be on the vacant lot.
Okay. I did review my notes, and I think we brought up a couple of different issues. But I think what might be helpful to the board is if we do a site visit out there for this, because if you take a look at the original approved plan and what is now, I think it's important to understand what was approved as part of the subdivision and what the applicant is asking for now, and I think it's important to see that. So my suggestion is because the applicant's not asking for any modification to this original subdivision plan. So this does not comply with what was previously approved. So I think before we make, too much of an assessment, perhaps a site visit by the board members would be helpful.
We also sorry. I think we also need clarification of which plan was approved, because the both plan and profiles have the same date, the same revision date. Since there's no statement of conditions that was recorded, we don't know which plan the planning board is following.
Well, we can do that at the same time, too. I don't recall that. Maybe there was something about that raised, but I don't recall any clarification requested of the board, but certainly. But you're not asking for a modification. You're not asking for any waivers. Is that correct?
Well,
That means you're saying whatever plan that was approved, that you still plan on building it.
no, we're not proposing to build anything.
Okay, then you have to ask for a modification then,
Okay.
right? Because one of those plans is approved, and what you're showing here is not in compliance with what was approved. That's what I have in my notes from the meeting on the 23rd. And I thought that was what you were going to come back with. Besides the plan, existing condition of you're going to ask for a waiver or modification or whatnot to that plan.
Okay.
All right, Warren, why don't you ask any comments or questions?
I would just like to defer to Bob Dubas, who's actually done work on that site, as to what he thinks with respect to the original approved plan and what is now being proposed. There's pointless in spending a whole lot of anybody's time trying to propose an amendment to a plan if the amendment isn't necessary, or if it is necessary, exactly what it needs to be. So I'd appreciate, Bob's input, but I don't have any questions.
Okay. Charlene, you want to go?
Just simply, I mean, at this point, they're asking for release from the covenant.
That's all.
For that lot. That's all they're asking for.
Right.
So that's what we should be acting on.
Okay.
If, in my opinion, I mean, there are two lots still held under covenant, 1B and 1A, if I'm,
Well,
Am I
one
correct?
B isn't subject to the, well, the.
and also on the plan, you have lot 1A, it should be 1B. Not, on the notes, you've got it right, David, but in amongst the trees on the plan, it says lot 1A.
It's the legal access.
No, this should be lot 1B.
Oh, no.
1B.
Darlene's right, they're switched.
I'm always right, but that being said, I'm kidding. That being said, what we're, all we're doing
You are
tonight
correct.
is that.
Yeah.
And if we feel that we can't act positively on that because the road isn't completed.
Right.
Then we need to vote no. Because
Correct.
the board only has 45 days, or I forget how many days, to act on or release a covenant
Okay.
under subdivision control
That's a
law.
good point. I
So
forgot about that.
I mean, I think there's other things here, but I don't want to get us stuck in the weeds.
Yeah.
When something else is before us.
Okay. All right. Bob, you have a,
David, is this the plan that you want us to work off of?
Yes,
How are they gonna get water?
we're gonna put a well in.
Do you know that the sewer plant's flume flows that in that direction?
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking that because are you coming back,
Oh, not the sewer plant, the dump.
both of them?
No, there's no way the water treatment plant
All
can.
right, I don't wanna argue with you right now. But
We're on the other side of Cockle Cove Creek.
you're gonna come back with another plan or a better plan than this?
It all depends on what the board wants. That's why we're here.
Because the road as it is now is, I won't vote for it.
Okay.
It's not structurally sound.
Okay.
It was put in as a temporary preventive because they couldn't get up and down the road.
The whole road or just the front portion?
No, the front portion is pretty stable, but it's not legal. It's not thick enough, it needs to be redone. It was a temporary fix,
All right.
okay? The people paid to have a temporary fix so that it kept washing out. So we stopped that. But I don't believe that it's structurally sound after all the equipment gets in there. The other thing is, I see sewers in here. They planning on putting a sewer in?
No, it just says future sewer.
Well, every subdivision that we've looked at, if they're gonna do road work, they put the sewer in.
Well, we're not gonna put sewer in for one lot.
It's gonna take, I would assume it's gonna take 2 or 3 lots.
Well, if we put it in, it's our sewer, so we wouldn't let anybody else tie into it.
I think that this needs a lot more work. I'm sorry to say that, and I believe,
Well, we're here for direction, Bob.
I know, well, I'm trying to give you some direction that if you're gonna I don't think the road is actually gonna pass, okay? And when we go out there and look at it, I think that you'll find that it's not a proper road. It was, now that you're making a subdivision out of it that was already there, okay, but nobody was building on that lot. They made the lot, they wanna sell the lot. Now, we've always had once it comes to us as a subdivision, you have to put a legal road in, okay?
I don't think that's a requirement here.
Well,
It's-
you're turning it into a subdivision.
Yeah, it is.
We're not subdividing the road, we're not modifying, it already is a subdivision. So what they did is they did a panhandle
They
lot,
split the lot.
they did a panhandle lot on a way that was approved by the planning board.
Well, I'd like to see the road that was on there, on the other, where they did it.
Yeah.
Make sure.
that was from the information that we had from the September 23rd meeting. Yeah.
So Who is gonna put the sewer in there?
The town,
Are they?
sometime in the future.
Okay.
Yep.
So I just think that, and I believe you should have a water main in there with a hydrant on top. That's it's always been,
Can I ask for clarification?
Sure.
I don't mean to, so the subdivision plan that created lots 1A and 1B, that was separate from the rest of because it was a panhandle lot.
Correct.
So whatever was constructed prior to that, they're not responsible for, in my opinion. If this is just a two-lot subdivision off of Evergreen Lane, right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't think we can require, the rest of Evergreen Lane to be improved when that wasn't part of the subdivision that this was approved under. I think the portion from from Route 28 to where the frontage and access for Lot 1A is under the board's jurisdiction for this purpose, if we can figure out which plan was actually approved for the purposes of construction. And right now, I think that's the big, wrench in the works here, is not knowing which plan it is, and if waivers are needed, additional waivers are needed from that construction or improvement. But I don't think we can require them to do the whole road if this was only a two-lot subdivision.
except the two lots are up here.
No, the two lots are here and here.
It was treated as a subdivision
As a two-lot panhandle subdivision.
because although Lot 1B has frontage on Evergreen Lane, the access is going to be off a panhandle easement on Lot 1A.
Okay, so putting my old planner hat on, the board can only request that portion of the subdivision that this was part of, which seems to be the entrance from basically where, kind of in the middle, it says concrete bound found, where it then angles a little bit.
Charlene, the lot goes all the way up to here, to the top of the hill.
I understand that, but there's more lots further
I'm
down.
not talking about those.
No,
No?
not part of this subdivision.
No, that's a different subdivision.
Well,
Yeah.
we have to say where this stops. If
the
they're
top-
gonna.
at the top of the hill.
But if they're gonna be accessing it from an easement, and that was understood at the time of the
I don't,
definitive subdivision,
know.
that's
We
where
don't
we
know
need
that.
more
I
information.
don't know if it was.
That's where I need more information.
I think we should table this until we figure out.
Well, we
What
have
the
to act on
actual-
on the request for the release unless David wants to request a withdrawal of that request.
It looks like it's not going to get acted on favorably, so I can send you a letter in the morning asking for,
Actually, you can do a verbal, because we need to vote on it.
Yeah, we need to vote on it, yeah.
okay.
Well, I think part of what the issue is here, this was a subdivision that was approved in 2004. In that plan, David is right, there's two different plans, but in that plan, they still showed an improvement at the access to Main Street, Route 28. That was never constructed. It also showed an improvement that is supposed to be some drainage associated there. That was never done either.
And that I have no problem with.
Right.
Yeah.
Of the
So,
drainage.
and the part of the discussion that we had in September was, we understand that you may not want to do this, and some of the abutters did not want to do this. I thought that it was clear that there needed to be some modification or waiver request in order to actually allow the process to go through and to release it.
I agree 100% with you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
that's where I was going, that's where my notes took me. And certainly, we could consider that because of what has happened over the last 20 years and the condition is, and it's all gonna get ripped up anyway, once the sewer gets put in there, so, or a water main. So I just think that at this point, I don't want to release a lot
I
until
don't
we
either.
resolve that issue.
I'm with you
Right.
100% on that,
That-
yeah.
That's my only, and I think that it would be helpful if we went out there as a board member, as many of us that can get out there with the applicant and walk through this issue and how, what is it that we can do to, help resolve it, And I think there could be something that we could do to resolve it. You almost need to see it, though, It's it's not flat, I'll tell you, it's like, it's a bit of a challenge.
No, I agree 100% with what
Okay.
you're saying, but again, we have a request for a
Right.
covenant release.
Right.
So that's what we need to focus on now. And I agree that if, the applicants through their engineer want us to do an on-site
Right.
for the purposes of a future modification or what have you, then that would be appropriate in a separate matter.
All right, is that agreeable to the board members who are interested in it? Okay, all right, so we'll do that. I think that would be
Mr. Chair?
worthwhile. Oh, Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a comment. How to say this? I think the only thing that's clear about this whole matter is that there's an abundance of confusion. And and I think we need to really clear it up. And Charlene, this may be a somewhat different perspective than you're saying, but I think to release a lot from the covenant, we need to know that
I'm not
the
suggesting we release a lot from covenant at all.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know. Let me just finish. But I think to do that, to take action on that, we need to know that the requirements of the covenant have been met. And right now, we don't even know what the covenant is.
Yep.
So I think we need to determine that. We need to determine what the covenant for this subdivision is, and then we need to determine whether or not that's been satisfied. And I'm going to add this piece that it's come up in our consideration of subdivisions previously that to some degree the board does have purview that is above and beyond, you could say, the letter of the subdivision rules and regs. In other words, it is the board's responsibility and purview to be sure that everything regarding that subdivision meets all safety requirements, meets all requirements about causing any difficulties for abutters, etc. And we do need to look to public safety and to all those issues, and we have a kind of, how to say, expanded responsibility to do that. So we do need to examine the whole situation as well as determine what is the particular covenant for the particular subdivision. Has it or has it not been met? And can we release this particular lot? So anyway, those are my comments. And for what it's worth, I think a site visit would help us determine this. Also, maybe more research into the records that we have on file to just try to clarify exactly what the situation is. Thanks.
Just so you know, the two plans, one was a much more extensive improvement of the roadway all the way up past the second lot, the one that's up on the hill. There is a second plan, and I think this is the one that that David is asking us to clarify, which only showed a couple hundred feet as it approaches Route 28. So there needs to be a clarification of that. In any case, one way or another, we would have to make a decision about what it is that we want to resolve or agree to modify or whatever. And then, once that is addressed, I think the lot release can, we can take that on as a follow-up issue.
But right now, we need to act on,
I would say, right, all right.
and
Correct.
So, is that something you're requesting to withdraw on this?
Yes and no, in that we want to keep moving forward with this, and we don't want to have to come back in 6 weeks just to be at this same spot again. So one of the problems in last September's meeting was the board didn't want to move forward until they saw something on paper.
Yep.
That's what we provided.
Well, what you've provided does not address what the approved plan has, though.
That wasn't the purpose of the plan. The purpose of the plan was to show you what's on the ground now, and then try to move forward with either a modification or picking which approved plan you wanted to go with. And so unfortunately, we're right back where we were in September, in that it sounds like the board has no information to move forward.
Well, just to clarify, the September was just a preliminary discussion. It was not a formal request to
Correct.
do
Oh, I
anything.
know that, right, right, but the
So-
board made it clear that they needed something on paper, and that's what we provided, so.
Well, if you want us to vote on this, we certainly can vote.
Well, so you vote on it, and now what? We have to formally request a modification of the subdivision in order to get you to go out to the site to take a look at it? Or do we keep this thing open with a letter from me saying we waived the 45 days? And at least we have the public process still open. You guys can go out and take a look at the road and let us know what your feelings are and on what direction we need to be going.
That's acceptable to
Can I
me.
make a,
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Catherine.
yeah, I just want to make a comment. We really need to take this off of, this idea of see what we think, see what it is. We need to just really nail it down. What was approved before and what is it now? And what do we need to have happen now in order to release the lot?
We're not,
Because we're just keeping it sort of amorphous. And whatever we need to do to clarify that information, it might mean, David, another meeting with you and Community Development Department looking at the historical documents and determine, we, um, we just need to determine, what was approved before, what's there now, and does it meet the requirements of the previous covenant, the previous subdivision?
we understand it doesn't
approved.
meet the requirements of either plan that was approved last time.
Okay,
So it's clear that we're going to be going in the direction of a modification. And so I need input from the board as what modifications would be appropriate. And I think an on-site's a great way to start, but I think the board needs to proceed with an open application. Because even if we filed a modification tomorrow, we don't know what we're filing for.
Right.
And,
Right.
and it's gonna be 6 weeks before we can get you to go out there and take a look at it. So, like I said, just for keeping the open meeting,
Then,
keeping the meeting open, I would ask that we continue and the request for the release, knowing that we're not going to get that ever until we resolve the modification issue. But at least we keep the public hearing process open, and it gives a mechanism for the board to go out and take a look at it sooner than later.
is that something the board members are agreeable to do?
Yeah, I want to know why it's going to take 6 weeks.
Well, I don't think it should. I mean, we can schedule this within the next week or 2 weeks between now and the next
Yeah, I'd
meeting.
rather not do it in the rain like you guys did.
That's true.
Personally.
Yeah.
But,
We
Yes.
did that at 200 Meeting House Road, so.
There are two things then that we need to do. One is an agreement with David.
Yeah.
For an extension of the time in which the board has to act on the covenant release.
Right.
That's not to a date and time certain, that's to just say, I don't know.
Give you a 3-month extension, just to keep.
Something to keep it, and
Right.
then that gets recorded with the town clerk once you submit that, and the chair would need to sign that. So
Right.
that would be one thing, and then just continuing this to a date and time certain with the understanding that we're going to have
Right.
an onsite.
Right, okay.
But you also need to have a modification eventually. So,
Well,
I mean,
But
I know you know,
I
you
think-
don't know what the
I think
modification
David is
is.
right. He needs some guidance on that, only because 20 years has gone by. So we have a plan right now of what it is, existing conditions. If you visually see it, I think you'll be able to come to some compromise associated with this. I can understand your applicant does not want to build what was proposed,
No,
but,
the neighbors don't.
yeah, and the neighbors don't too, yes.
They
So
like that
we-
tree canopy going.
We need to, make a decision as a board, but it's important to actually see this. It's not level, on the ground, all nice and dandy. This a little bit more challenging than your average road. And I think if you see it,
So on the 28th, if there's an on-site between now and then.
Right.
On the 28th, if it's very much clear that a modification needs to be submitted, then you would ask for a waiver from the covenant release and then move forward with the modification
Right.
based on the on-site.
all right, so you're suggesting that we just continue this to the 28th?
If you can get I'm not going to be available for an on-site or the 28th meeting, unfortunately.
So what is the form? Are we signing a timeline extension form of
It's a
some kind?
timeline extension
Right.
form, or even a letter, which,
A letter from us.
a letter from them with a signature line for the
Right.
chair to sign. So it would be, first, an understanding that we are going to continue the time in which the board has to act on the release of covenant to, say, June 30th. That would be part A
Yeah.
of the motion, and then part B of the motion would be to continue this matter to April 28th, with the understanding that there will be an on-site before then.
Right,
So that would be my motion.
okay. I need discussion. Do I have a second, first of all?
Second.
All right, any discussion on this first before we? No? Okay, then let's do a roll call vote. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werschafter,
Bob Wirtschafter, approve.
Charlene Greenhall,
Charlene Greenhouse, approve.
Frank Shear,
Make sure I approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
Catherine Halpern,
Catherine Halpern, approve.
and Art Spur, I
Mr.
approve.
Chairman,
Yes.
I think after an on-site inspection, we can come to an agreement on a certain few items.
Yeah.
But I think we should have an on-site.
We'll see, and are you going to be around at all in the next 2 weeks, Charlene? No?
We're going to be away from the 22nd and coming back first.
Okay. Maybe you could at least take a visual on this yourself?
You willing to meet me out there, David, one-on-one?
I'd like to go up with you. I'd like to go in with you and throw in my 2 cents, David, if that's all right.
It'll be 3 cents, but
I do want to see you progress. I just have a few,
And actually, that'll be good. That way, somebody who will actually be able to be here on the 28th
Right.
will.
Convey
be
your,
able to-
convey your
okay.
points, yeah.
Yeah,
So just so I'm clear, the two of you are gonna do the site visit alone with the engineer?
yes.
Well,
Yeah.
the other board members can go along with that if they want, or
Well,
they
I
can
need
set a
to know
separate
that
date.
because I need to
Yeah.
post it.
If it's just
I-
Bob and I.
Yep.
Just for time constraints,
Right.
and
and
it doesn't need to be posted.
Right,
yeah, if you have an on-site with the rest of the board, I'd be more than happy to be out there too.
okay. I would suggest that we do that in 2 parts then, just so we can get Charlene's input. And then Christine will reach out to you and schedule sometime between now and the 28th for a site visit for the rest of the board members, so we can post it.
And may I just ask, David, can you be at both site visits?
yes,
Great, thank you so much.
David, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Sure.
Because you don't have my number.
I think the other thing, if Christine can take the packet that we got from the September 28th meeting, there was additional information in that packet that we didn't get in tonight's packet, and that'll, I'm not sure it's going to clarify anything, but it'll show you the 2 different plans that were part of this, and that might help you understand about what was originally proposed and maybe why there was an adjustment to the plan. But I agree with David from the standpoint, which is the final approved plan that was part of the subdivision approval.
Can I say one thing?
If you
I'm the
introduce
owner,
yourself,
Susan Shepherd. And for the, I guess we've owned this land for about 12 years, and we owned the house that was connected to it, so we bought the two pieces separately, but within a year of each other. Whenever anyone has looked at this, it was always our understanding that it was the modified plan that had the less restrictive road size. We were never told, no one ever seemed to think that it was the first plan.
Right.
Why it was modified so quickly and how that happened, I'm not sure. I think maybe Jack Farrell knows the answer to that, but I just wanted to, we've been trying to get the history on this for about the past 3 years and trying to figure out exactly what needs to be done. But that was definitely our understanding, that it was the less restrictive. The road size was the smaller one that they were talking about. But, yes.
Okay.
We'd like to have this cleared up.
We'll-
So I really
we'll try
appreciate
and-
you guys
we'll try
going
and
out
help you
there.
with that.
I very much appreciate it, yeah. It's been hard to get any answers or any agreement, and obviously.
There actually is a motion on the floor. No second yet either.
So there was a second. Bob Duvis did the second, right? Yes.
I thought we voted. No, I apologize if we didn't. Then,
I missed.
let's take a roll call vote on this then. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, I approve.
Bob Werschafter,
Bob Borchett, approve.
Charlene Greenhall,
Charlene Greenhouse, approve.
Frank Shear,
Frank, sure, I approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
and Catherine Halpern,
Catherine Halpern, approve.
and Art Spur, I approve. Okay, so we'll probably set up 2 site visits with you, one with all the most of the board members, and the other one with Charlene and Bob separately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right, we have a few minutes before, I think the next one is our public hearing, so we have a few minutes.
Could I ask a question, sir? Can we go back to the Sylvan Way just for a point of clarity?
I'm sorry, you can't speak from the audience. We have a few minutes, so.
Okay, great. I'll be quick. I'm Toby Leary. I represent the builders at Sylvan Way, and which you guys heard before I got here. I got stuck in some traffic, so we were just going to ask for a point of clarity on the plan of land that we have. That we were under the impression it was an approval not required. That we were literally just getting a sign off for our subdivision, and we have a plan of land that is signed by the planning board from 1988. And I'm not sure if you all have it or not, but I just wanted to ask, why this plan wouldn't be acceptable to the board tonight, which shows the cul-de-sac right on it, so.
Sure. I would like to speak to that, actually. So the planning board does have all of these plans. These are the plans that I passed out to them later. So that last plan was for a different subdivision. It was for Twine Field, which is further up in the middle of the plan there. This other piece that was on there was just on there as the drawing itself.
It was
It's
part
not
of
part of the
information.
application. It was not part of the application at all. It was not part of the subdivision. So we go back to the plan before that in the package that the planning board members have, speak to Nickerson Circle, and then they show the lot being the full lot the way it is as we see it now. And if we go back one more plan in the package that I have provided to the surveyor, we see the original plot of land, which basically is off of Sylvan Way, and there is no cul-de-sac there, and that shows the small, approximately a little over 30 feet of frontage on it, so there is no, we have no record of any plan with the cul-de-sac being recorded anywhere, coming before the planning board. It appears as though it was just something that somebody maybe was considering, or somebody had gotten some misinformation or got ahead of themselves, but the
Yeah,
plan.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my original surveyor on this project did do some research, and it was on May 23rd, 1988, that it was before the planning board. And it was a plan of land for all 4 lots on this plan. And it was a definitive plan of land. And again, that was the date. It was signed off by all the members of the planning board, approved that night, recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And there was 2 subject lots that were subject to covenants that night, and there were 2 subject lots that were not subject to covenants. But this,
So the four,
this,
the 4 lots on
Yes.
that plan that you're referring to, again, the planning board has that.
yes.
Do not include the lot with the cul-de-sac that you're speaking of. That,
I'm looking at it right now. It's right here. It's got their signatures. It's got the date. It's got the Registry of Deeds stamp on it.
right, but that cul-de-sac at the bottom corner was not part of this it was not part of this subdivision. It's not in the application at all.
Well, I also have an opinion from the person who did the original zoning work here, and under the statute, he's not a lawyer, but he does have the ability to weigh in on it. I could read you his commentary on this if you would.
Well, no, I
indulge
wanted to
me.
interrupt you right now, because we're beyond the point where you were just going to talk for a few minutes, okay? The application was withdrawn. There has never been a submission to the planning board for this extension to the roadway. If there was, there would have been a road built. There's no road built at the cul-de-sac, all right? It's just driveways. So there's no evidence that that was even completed. So I think you need to go back and do your research on that, and
I
maybe have a subsequent meeting with the community development staff. And go.
Fair enough. And so this plan of land that was recorded and dated and signed by the the planning board, which shows the cul-de-sac is
That was
invalid.
for a different subdivision. It has nothing to do with your subdivision.
We will also tell you to look at the protective zoning bylaw on page 51, which refers to lots created after January 1st, 1987, and prior to January 1st, 1994. And that speaks to some of the things of this, and in particular, it speaks to having the roadway built within 8 years of any subdivision. So even if the subdivision that you have is correct and it is true and accurate, then we're going to refer to this and we're going to take you through that piece of it.
Right. I just wish when we asked 30 days ago that we would have been given this information instead of 2:30 this afternoon, because, we had a lot riding on this. This has been a long process to get here, and so,
I have been in contact with the surveyor. I did not give him this information initially. It came up as the planning board chair and I were discussing it. I know that your surveyor was away last week. We've had a number of other issues with regard to it. We think we can get to where you need to be with a definitive subdivision. So I would suggest if you reach out to the planning office and community development, we can go over it further if you need.
fair enough. And I would like to submit that opinion letter as well, so we'll send.
Oh, by all means, yeah, at that time, sure.
Can I just, I happen to be the assistant town planner when this was done.
Is your name on it?
No, because I didn't get to sign anything back then. That being said, have you found the old case file for this?
So we found something under the twine field. I'm sorry, we found something under twine field.
I only say that because in actuality, it was not unusual for the lower cul-de-sac to have been created for the purposes of creating frontage for what's known as Lot 4, because they're showing that temporary turnaround off of Twinefield. So it was not unusual back in the day to have done a plan like this. Whereas that cul-de-sac was created, and it may have been waived for road construction because the access was actually going to be off of the new Twinefield Road. So
There was no access from this property, though, for that. That's part of the issue, and there was no submission
No,
on
I'm
this
just
application.
talking, it was just
Yeah.
for the purposes of creating frontage only, because Lot 4 doesn't have adequate frontage. Well, it might on the straightaway there, but I mean, it was, good Lord, I was a lot younger then, and I don't remember every plan that came before the board. But, you know, I don't know if there's anything shown on the preliminary subdivision that shows that cul-de-sac.
We will look again, and
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
get
just,
back to
you
you on
know,
that. That's fine.
Only because when I saw the date, I'm like, oh, I worked here then. So I don't know if that, and they probably did this for plan protection because there was a subdivision, there was a zoning change that occurred. So I guarantee this was done for plan protection back in the day. I don't know if that helps or not.
Right. Well, the part of the bylaw is the issue too that we found.
Right,
Within
right.
the bylaw, so I will have to reach out to you tomorrow. If you want to give Annie in the back your information, I can move forward in that direction too. Thank you.
Okay, so now we can go to our public hearings. These are continued from, what date was it then? I lost my agenda.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Nineteenth of March?
Was it
I'm sorry, the 24th of March.
24th of March? Okay.
My dad's birthday.
And this first one is the petition for your stormwater article, is that correct?
Yes, good afternoon. Ed Aldridge, Impact Chatham. So my drive for this article is to align the bylaw to the purpose and intent of the bylaw. It's protection of natural resources. If it's not abundantly clear to everyone in the community, I will state it clearly. Stormwater runoff contains pollutants that degrade water quality. At one point in time, open up a swale into the water body and everything was fine. And then we started realizing that that caused problems. So the planning board seems to accept this premise, but has concerns regarding property owners, quote unquote, getting what they want. I'm not entirely sure what they want and what the planning board means by that. But they would get what they want by abusing this bylaw to significantly alter land within conservancy districts. So I would like to review the existing bylaw in various circumstances that do allow for cut, fill, and regrading. Utilities.
Just a minute, guys.
Point of order?
Yes.
I think when you came before us the last time, we had suggested some wordsmithing. I think that's where we're at.
Great.
I mean, I think we all understand what it is you're trying to do here, and I don't think we need to go into that again.
I agree. We did go into it last.
But if I remember right, and unfortunately I didn't mark my copy, but we talked about excluding the wording, including excavation, comma, filling, comma, and regrading, so that it just said something along the line, the construction, maintenance, and improvement necessary to direct, treat, and infiltrate, is my memory on
And
that.
if we're going to take out, perhaps direct would be also important to take out.
However,
We want
yes.
just the stormwater systems with the existing surfaces that we
Right.
have. I did speak with
Yes.
the building commissioner on this, and he doesn't have the time to review this. He can only review existing regulation. He had a few violations, and spring has sprung. He has a lot of permits being closed. So we'll take out the language. It should work. If it doesn't, we'll be back.
So and this would have to be changed on town meeting floor and a motion by you. So it would be the construction, comma, maintenance, and improvement to treat and infiltrate stormwater runoff.
In
Correct?
accordance with all of the applicable regulations and guidance.
So this is something I think would be appropriate. We're just talking about this verbally. I think we should have this in writing. Let's continue this to the 28th. We can vote on it then because we'll have something that is going to be presented at town meeting with our recommendation. Our recommendation is based on this, not what we have in front of us. I would prefer to do it that way rather than just verbalize this because it's a bylaw change. Is that something that would work for you, Thad?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue the public hearing, unless somebody else said something, I apologize, for these petition zoning amendment with regard to the Conservation District to April 28th, no earlier than 5 PM.
and do I have a second?
Second.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Wertheimer,
Bob Wertheimer, approve.
Charlene Greenhall,
Approve.
Frank Shear,
Approve.
Bob Duas,
Bob Dubus, approve.
Catherine Halpern,
Catherine Halpern, approve.
and Art Spru, I approve. Okay, next hearing is, let me get my packet of information out here. This is a petition article,
Mechanical system.
where were mechanical systems? Okay,
Exterior mechanical system appliances.
yes.
For the record, Thad Eldridge, Impact Chatham. This one, there was a suggestion for additional wording, and we are not going to provide that, and I'll explain why. So I just want to start by reviewing how Impact Chatham came to be. I consulted with Buck Upson. He was on the Conservation Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. He recognized my mindset was not to blindly overdevelop the town. I'm not an advocate for clients. I abide greatly by 250 CMR, the protection of the health, welfare, and safety. I want responsible development. So I'm not coming at this with a pro-development perspective. I want something that's responsible. So for the exterior mechanical appliance systems bylaw, or system appliances, what a mouthful. It was a member of the community that reached out to us, asking if we would put this forward. We sought out opinions from legal counsel, who's familiar with the local zoning bylaw, and they helped wordsmith the bylaw that we put before you. That attorney has suggested that it would be far more prudent to review how the Zoning Board of Appeals works, rather than create excessive language within this bylaw that would be redundant. I will do my best. So the board appeared satisfied with the changes to the setback, keep these things out of the front yard setback, the second floor units that shouldn't be, they should meet the setbacks as well. So now the concern is putting this to a special permit rather than a variance request before the Zoning Board of Appeals. So starting with the costs, to do it right, it'll take a minimum of $5,000 to get to the Zoning Board of Appeals, between site plans, legal fees, applications, notifications. Can you get it for less? Sure. Can you get it for more? A more difficult application will certainly be more than $5,000. But this is not something that somebody's going to take on lightly. That could be a deterrent for applicants who just want their appliance in the wrong spot. The protective bylaw, starting on page 93, has the criteria. So when somebody goes in for a special permit, they have to prove the suitability of the site for the proposed use, the impact on the neighborhood visual character, noise and litter, which is most important for this, as these are noise-generating items, and compatibility of the proposed use with surrounding land uses. Special permits may be granted with reasonable conditions, safeguards, or limitations. And there has to be a finding that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood. I have great faith in our Zoning Board of Appeals to ensure that abutters' concerns are heard, they are notified. And it's very easy for somebody to write a letter back to say they don't like the location of a unit. But more importantly, to meet the criteria, they would have to make sure that they're not negatively impacting the abutter. This was noted today. In the past 5 years, there have been 53 variance requests. 24 have been approved. It's pretty high considering the difficulty of obtaining a variance. I provided examples of several cases where a special permit made sense. And with that, I open it up to questions.
Okay. Catherine, I'm going to start with you. Do you have any questions or comments of that on this petition article? Are you still there, Catherine?
Hold on. Yes, I'm connected. I had to get myself off mute.
Okay.
So as I recall, and forgive me, I think we wanted to add wording. Wasn't the issue about whether the units were raised or not raised and whether they were part of the footprint, and wasn't that our issue? Can you refresh my memory, Thad?
So there are three changes going about in this article, and one of them, elevated units, or the current bylaw reads at ground level. And
Okay,
if they're not at ground level, they don't need to meet the setback, and that seems silly
Okay.
because that only projects the noise.
right.
The building footprint, the bylaw was not drafted that way, so these devices are
Right.
separate structures. We could certainly rewrite the bylaw and
Okay.
say that it's part of a building footprint, but we're working with what's already written.
Okay, yes. All right. And so basically, you're just saying that the concerns that the planning board has, you feel will be taken care of through the special permit process with zoning board of appeals. Is that correct?
Yes, they will be.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions. If you'd like to go ahead.
Okay. Warren, do you have any comments, questions?
I don't have anything to add to those comments.
Bob Wershafter?
Nope.
No. Charlene?
Nothing.
Nothing. Frank?
Nope.
And Bob Dubus?
Yeah, Thad, didn't we already go through this for the setbacks on air conditioners and other
You did.
noise-making machines, whatever you want to call them, out things? I thought we had it so that they were to use the setback, and then we had it that you put a fence around it, and/or plants, something like that. So what exactly, you just want to change from a variance to a special permit? Is that what your idea is?
You weren't here before for the initial. So currently, it's at-grade units need to meet the setback, the side yard setback from all around.
Or the front or rear setback?
No, just the side yard setback. So at-grade units need to meet the side yard setback. So in a R40, it's 25 feet. It needs to meet 25 feet from the street. I have two examples in there, a street view showing generators.
All right,
in the
so
front yard.
so exactly what are you telling us then?
So we want to keep units from being within the front yard setback, so make them 40 feet in the 40,000 square foot zoning district, keep them at.
What if they don't have 40 feet?
Then, rather than a variance, they can go for a special permit.
Just what I said, you want to change this to special permits?
Yes,
Okay. You're still keeping within the law that we did, 5 years ago or something like that? It came before us and we changed all of that, or whenever we did. I was on the board when we made it, if it was loud, that we would put a fence around it and/or shrubbery around it to help absorb some of the noise. And I thought that went through, if there was a complaint or something like that. So, and I do agree with you, Thad. I think that a special permit would be better than a variance. So if that's the only, I'm just making sure that's the only change you want to do.
there were the three changes.
All right, give me the other two. 40 feet,
So it's at grade,
right? That's
has to
fine.
meet the setback. Elevated, it doesn't have to meet the setback.
How far is elevated?
The current interpretation is 8 feet. If you can't reach it from ground level, then it doesn't have to meet the setback.
And you don't think that the noise carries further at 8 feet than it does on ground level?
That's why we're getting rid of that, because the noise would carry further when
All
you're
right, thank you.
elevating
I
it.
just want to make it clear to me and some of the people that might be watching. Okay, and what's the other one?
So we have meeting the street setback.
Right,
We have the elevated units need to meet
Right.
all the setbacks, and then instead of a variance, it'd be a special permit in order to violate the setback.
perfect. Thank you. That's good clarification for the dummies like me.
Yeah. So I'm going to have Christine read a few of the minutes from the previous meeting on this and might help clarify some of the other comments that we had. Do you have those up available?
So after that had presented at the last meeting, Charlene had asked, she said that she was in some support, but she was concerned with the wording. These again are draft minutes, but this is kind of what we have. Then Frank had said he was in favor of using a special permit since the lots in these cases are difficult to deal with, and this allows for additional tools and review. Catherine and Bob Bushafter, they were both concerned with the wording as well. They wanted something more clear, especially with circumstances would have applicants seeking a special permit. Miss Catherine suggested the mechanicals be considered part of the building footprint. Mr. Eldridge said that the special permit items clarified the use in the table. He added that he didn't believe that the mechanicals could be part of the building footprint as they could be 5 feet or more off the building, and case law pushes them into the direction of he is proposing. Mr. Woodshafter also had said about two fundamental issues with regard to sound and aesthetics. And then Mr. Spruce said that he agreed with other planning board members that there needs to be some clearly defined criteria for planning board support. So that's where you all left it. You basically were looking for more information. You were looking for better wording. Again,
you
these are
already have
draft.
it.
What?
And you already have the wording in the bylaw with the criteria that exist.
Okay, so if there's no more comments or questions, we can close this public hearing, and then we can decide how we want to deal with the recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second,
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werschafter,
Bob Wirtschafter, approve.
Charlene,
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
Frank Scher,
Frank Scher, approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
Catherine Halpern.
Mr. Chair, I approve, but I just wanted to ask, did we need to get any public statements prior to closing the public hearing?
That's a good point.
Maybe there are none, but just in case.
You're still under discussion.
That's right. I do not see any hands raised, so,
Great, then
and there's
I
nobody
approve
on
that
the
we-
audience here. Thank you for
Great,
bringing
then
that
I
up.
No worries. Then I approve that we close the public hearing for deliberations.
And Arts Brew, I approve. Okay, so I would say next, if there's any discussion about how you would like to go forward with a recommendation or alterations or entertain comments from the board members on this during discussion.
Any recommendation to town meeting should always be in the positive,
Yes, correct.
and then the vote reflects.
Right. Yep. So, any comments, questions, or do we want to go ahead and vote a positive recommendation on this? Bob Dubus?
I'm in favor of those three changes. I think I'd rather have a special permit than a variance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine?
I agree. If I can summarize it, that I think you haven't made any changes since we last met with you, but you've clarified what you're doing here for the board. Is that correct?
He can't really
You
say
can't-
anything.
Right, yeah.
Because
But
we
I-
closed the hearing.
Right, but
Oh, right, because we
I
closed the
think-
public
I think
hearing.
that's-
Sorry. I'm sorry.
But I think that's what he has done in my point of view too, that he has clarified.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
For the board.
So you all
Yeah.
had received
Okay.
proposed bylaw amendment dated February 7th, and we received it on February 19th. And it says, just to refresh, mechanical system appliances. He took out all lowercase e, he capitalized exterior. Then he took out located at ground level. And then he added shall be, after shall be, located to meet the applicable minimum building slash structure setbacks. And then he took out setback, the distance of the abutter setback to the property line as required for buildings and structures in Appendix 2. Schedule of dimensional requirements, and then the added, except by special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So it will read just clearly now. It says, exterior mechanical system appliances, including but not limited to air conditioners, condensers, generators, and pumps, shall be located to meet the applicable minimum building/structure setbacks in Appendix 2. Schedule of dimensional requirements, except by special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, so, do I have a Bob, go ahead.
Where does it say anything about the units that aren't on the ground? I mean, is that just, I'm still confused. I mean, I have a clearer picture of what Thad wants and told us, but I'm going to say that most people reading this are not going to see that when they read it.
Yeah, here's what I think. The previous one made a focus on located at the ground level. So previously, anything that was located at a ground level. So so anything elevated was didn't come into that purview. So by eliminating that piece, then it means anything that's there. That I think,
Right.
and I think Thad did clarify that. So I do think that is a clear item. Does that work? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sorry, I missed that.
So with that, do we want to make a positive recommendation for the proposed bylaw for exterior mechanical system appliances?
Mr. Chairman, so moved. To the town meeting, so moved.
To town meeting, yep. And,
Warren Chain, a second.
okay, let's, roll call vote. Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werschafter,
Bob Wirtschafter, approve.
Charlene Greenhall,
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
Frank Scheer,
Frank Scherer, approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
Catherine Halpern,
Catherine Halpern, approve.
and Art Spru, I approve.
Thank you much.
So just so you all know, a letter will be going to the Select Board and then ultimately to the town moderator to read
That,
at town meeting because the warrant has already closed.
it's closed, so there'll be a separate letter and the recommendation we made on town meeting floor. All right, thank you. All right, so last item on the agenda is the West Chatham Neighborhood Center. The community development staff and I have been diligent work in a background. We've created, what would you call it, a video of?
Yes, I would say it was a video. Art, myself, and Catherine produced a 5-minute video with the help of Chatham TV and Mark here that we're waiting on the town administrator, the town manager to approve. She is reviewing it currently. It answers frequently asked questions. It's something similar to what was done for the ADU bylaw a few years ago. This one's got some of the graphics in it that were developed throughout the entire process. So what we're doing now is we've proposed, we initially had written a script of frequently asked questions that was much longer. So I believe you all got a draft in your package, a couple of pages. And I wanted you all to, you've got a 4-page one, right? But there seemed to be some confusion. Okay.
Right.
So we were trying to decide
Yes,
whether or not we
yes.
would be putting up a longer version on the website just to answer questions for people.
When
we'd
we
be
were
looking
doing
for
the video, we
feedback.
decided that it was too long to put together as a video. So we combined a couple of things together as part of the video Q&A. So there, even though there's less questions, the answers were sort of like melded in together to cover as many of the aspects of the Q&A. So Mark did a marvelous job of adding some of the visual images on this. Some have animations on them. I was rather impressed with it because I didn't know where this was going to go. I had so many takes on this, so I was happy he was able to resolve some of my pieces. I appreciate his help on it. I think it's going to help in communicate this, especially when you're answering some of the questions with some visual images, because we use a lot of the visual images of what we have used and created over this time. But then we thought that we should post the more lengthy Q&As on the website in case there was other questions that we didn't cover with that video.
I was just confused because starting on the second page, we have some redundancy from the first page.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was just trying to.
Exactly.
I was just trying to figure that out a little bit. I think you guys did a great job on this. I just have a couple minor.
So we made some modifications the day of, and they did not make it in this
Okay.
draft to
Yeah.
you. But I would
We
say
saw the
to you,
redundancy, yeah.
I would like to send it out to you all tomorrow, so you can kind of take a look at it and give some additional things. Some of the questions are simplified, whether or not it costs money and stuff like that, but those are some of the questions that maybe some people will ask, and some are much more involved.
Right.
So I would like to send out another thing to you all to review before we put it up on the website, and then what will happen is Shauna from the town manager's office will be putting out some social media things on this to promote the video, and then also to promote the frequently asked questions when we get it settled. So that's what kind of, we just wanted to bring it all to your attention over the next couple of weeks.
I'll just give you my marked up.
Oh, perfect.
Terrific,
Yeah.
Thank you.
terrific.
Does the video include some of the renderings that we've seen as to
Oh,
what
yeah.
things are going to look like?
So
Yes.
it does, yeah, we kind of, we
assumed
go
that. I
through the
just wanted to
process,
make sure.
and Mark has matched them up with, from the form-based code very early on, all the way through. Again, trying to keep the video fairly short, but
So
we're getting there.
once the town manager signs off on this and it's posted, could you send a link to the board members so that they can take a look at it? Absolutely. Okay, all right.
You anticipated my next comment. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Catherine.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment just in response to Charlene. I think everything will be more clear for the board when you see the video. I think what you have before you in writing is two versions of essentially the same thing. A short version, which was made into the video, and Art is completely right. Mark added some graphics. I think when you see the graphics and the video, it really does make it very clear in a very short, compact video. And then I think the second version is intended to be the same, some of the same questions and answers as the first. So it's intended to be redundant, as I understand, but it's a written version that goes into a little bit more detail of what's in the video. So I think that's the intention, that there's the short video and then a little more detail in the written version.
Yeah,
So-
what we were finding, both Catherine and I, when we were reading them is one thing, but when you speak them, it doesn't come out quite right. And so I think we made about 6 edits while we were in production on this, and it turned out better because we spent the time to do that. And again, Mark was terrific about cutting and pasting all of our voiceovers in. So he has a text on the bottom with the question and text on the bottom with the answer. And then the images are, he streams through quite a few different images associated with this.
And then one of the other things over the next couple of weeks prior to town meeting will be the, whatever, Art or whoever is going to present at town meeting on behalf of all of you. So we'll be bringing that script forward too. We wanted to have the long-range item on the next couple of agendas, just to keep everybody aware and informed of things that we're doing, to get some outreach and get some wording out there.
So I plan on doing the presentation, but if there's other volunteers, I'll be happy to have you step up.
Well, my question was going to be, how are we going to incorporate all that nice graphics into your presentation? So I don't know whether we can just put the polished, edited version as you get up and just push a button and let it all go, or whether you're going to have to get more coordinated in having those graphics, because it's going to be very important to have the graphics as part of your presentation.
I think so. I think that that's what we're actually starting to work on tomorrow. And we'll develop something, a series of slides, and pinpoint what some of the highlights are. I mean, the Q&A is part of that, but there's other components of it that we wanted to speak to about how this evolved. We'll see if we can get some information to the board for the next meeting so that we can share. That would be available for the town meeting that we would present, and maybe we can critique it then. So that'll be part of what I'll work on with Christine over the next 2 weeks.
Chairman, is it going to be an option under consideration to actually play the video at town meeting?
Well, that's what we could ask about that, and I know also that the town manager's office is, she usually does some type of a question and answer. We don't have the details on what that is going to look like exactly. It's not gonna cover all of the items in the warrant, but, Katie is researching that as well, so maybe that will be played part of it at town meeting, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr.
Yep. Catherine?
Well-
Yep.
Yeah, I had a comment, Warren, if you're done. From past town meetings, and I did happen to run into Jill, and she said she's working on her on her video for the town warrant, and I think we will get a positive reply from town manager's office on our little frequently asked questions. From previous town meetings, I believe, I mean, please do check again, but I believe it's possible to either play our short frequently asked questions video or even make a new video that is the full presentation for town meeting on the article, which includes graphics. There's usually a screen available, or there is usually a screen available. You could do the speaking live with graphics on the screen. I think we have done that in the past. So I think all of that should be available to you and at town meeting.
When I talk with Catherine about this, she's been exposed to this a little bit more than I have. One of the challenges that she mentioned when it comes to a bylaw like this, there could be some comments that come up that may not be connected in the right way or identified in the right way based on the way the bylaw is. We may not have an opportunity to go up there and rebut any of that, and that's part of the challenge. At least that's what Catherine mentioned to me on her past experience when she was dealing with this. We might have our presentation that we'll do, say whatever, 5 minutes or so, and there might be, positive comments on it, negative comments on it. We may not have a chance or an opportunity to rebut any of those if it clearly is inaccurate in comparison that we resolved that. I mean, we resolved an awful lot of things associated with this, and I think I appreciate it because it was straightforward for me to actually answer some of those during the select board meeting and the finance committee meeting. That was helpful, but that's a back and forth, and I'm not quite sure that we'll get that opportunity at town meeting. So I think the presentation we may have to live with that as the only thing, so we may have to cover as many bases as we can.
Well, we could stand and get in line.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, yep, that's right. That's right. You remember, Bob.
So
Yeah,
you've
we
done
have
that
to
before,
stand
Bob?
in line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I think it's extremely important that we, we have something, we'll call it the video, whatever it looks like, that actually shows what this is going to look like
Yeah,
in 50 years.
yeah,
Because there are going to be a lot of people that will never have seen those renderings.
right.
and won't have seen them in the context of, this is what the problem was, this is our solution, and this is what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
And
Well-
to do it at town meeting, I think is important. I am amazed, as good a word as any,
Yeah.
that in this whole process, in all of the public hearings, the lack of input for or against of a zoning bylaw which is as significant a change as this one.
There was some initially, but I think
it's
we
faded away.
vetted a lot of that out. I thought the major step that we did on this is when we addressed the residential piece on this and the affordable and attainable. That was never part of what we started off 4 years ago. That was a significant piece, and I think that that is a critical piece for this to be successful. And so it took us a while to actually get that to the point that we were all comfortable with it, and we could feel positive when we actually introduced this at town meeting.
As I say, but I think those points have been adequately conveyed
Yeah.
to the public, and there've been multiple public input options. And I'm amazed,
I was
given
always.
the other things that we get public input on, which is, not holding back on criticisms or questions or objections.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, any comments that I've heard personally, and certainly in our public meetings,
Yeah.
have all been favorable.
Yeah.
And really, everything that has ever come up that has been negative has been essentially addressed.
Yeah.
So I'm just amazed that for a zoning bylaw as momentous as this one, the lack of public opposition,
Well.
which is, I'm almost frightened by the fact that there's lack of opposition, because I come from an experience just as a voter that if it's a zoning change, the answer is no. I don't need to read the
I
bylaw.
think you're mistaken, Warren. This is a very minor change. I want to make sure everybody that's listening
It's true.
understands it's a very minor change that we're asking, and that's why we're getting very little feedback on it. You're just,
The,
be careful.
yeah, the thing that turned,
I think it's very important that at the meeting,
Yeah.
that it's quite clear
yeah,
what it is, the problem was, what we proposed, and this is what it's gonna look like. So you can see that it's a minor change.
okay, so we have, it's about a month for that, but we have only one meeting, unless we call for a special meeting. So, and we certainly couldn't do that if something comes up on the 28th, and we said that, it would be nice if we could do a check-in on this first before May 10th. So certainly, we'll consider that on the 28th, but let's see what Christina and I can put together on this. We'll work hard for the next 2 weeks and see what we can produce, and then we'll go from there. Any other comments from anybody else? Do we need to take?
Mr. Chair? I think Rick Levitt is asking.
Oh, yes, Rick, I see your hand up. Please go right ahead.
Well, thank you very much, and I've been following your conversation. I just want to echo all of your thoughts, and particularly Warren's thought that we do need to show the town meeting voters what it's going to look like, and it is a minor change. And the video, it will be so important to have at town meeting. My experience in going to town meetings and using videos to advance whatever I was saying has been very effective in the past, and I know this video would be effective as well. That's all I needed to say.
Well, thanks for sticking with us on this, Rick. I appreciate it. Appreciate your input. One last thing, there's an item that will be in the agenda, and it's called correspondence. It's not intended that we discuss this. I think it's important that when we receive correspondence, that we share it with the board members. If there's something that pops up there that you think is important that we should put on in a future agenda, that's fine, but I thought it would be important, because we could get 10 pieces of correspondence that are not related to our business, but it may be worthwhile for us to actually read. So you'll see that in the future, but it's not intended that we be discussing them on a meeting-by-meeting basis. All right. Okay, with that, I think we have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn this exceptionally good meeting.
I second it.
Okay, roll call, Warren,
Warren Chain approve.
Bob Wershafter,
Bob Wirtz to approve.
Charlene,
Charlene Greenhouse approved.
Frank,
Frank Sarah approve.
Bob Dubus,
Bob Dubus, approve.
Catherine Halpern,
Catherine Halpern, approve.
and Art Spur, I approve. And the time is 5:46 PM.